At ESPN, one of the ways that they prevented anyone from feeling like they were too big a star, Dan Patrick tells this story, is just avoiding the setting of precedent. So Dan Patrick is at the height of the most popular show that they have with Keith Olbermann. He wants a television in his office so he can watch some sports before going out and talking about them. They say you can't have a television in your office because then everyone here would want a television in their office. When Tom Brady gets Wednesdays off every week, does it ever make sense to give your superstar player or talent a different set of rules than everyone else in the locker room? What are the possible locker room or workplace ramifications? David, we'll start with you.
And I'd like to start with you, Dan. So do you feel as though you ought to be treated differently with your name on the board? The Dan Le Batard Show with Stu Gatz.
I'd like a caring relationship with my bosses that considers my humanity, and my bosses are not going to extend that to everybody. And in fact, at the end, didn't extend it to me either.
I'll concede to David here in a second, but I'm going to suggest that precedents, hiding behind precedents, is the refuge of scoundrel executives. Precedents is mostly bullshit. You make decisions, and it doesn't mean they apply to everybody. And yeah, the people who are the most valuable to you have the greater chance of getting privileges that the other people don't get. And I've never understood why everybody thinks that consistency is the most important characteristic here. Ralph Waldo Emerson said that consistency is a hobgoblin of small minds.
Oh, come on.
That's great. That's a great quote. It's a great
Say that again, please.
No, I love that we started at Ralph Waldo Emerson and then it got worse.
What do you mean it got better? What are you talking about?
Did he just say hobnoblin?
Hobgoblin.
Hobgoblin?
It's great. It's a great sentence. And it is cowardice.
Is that haiku?
No, but Samson, it's a great way. It's a great...
Consistency is the hobgoblin. I can't remember now.
Of small minds.
I don't even think that's the quote. Hold on.
It's okay.
I think that's Skipper, not Emerson.
No, I'm pretty sure it's Emerson. And by the way, Jonathan Swift said pie crust and rules were made to be broken.
Samson, what are the ramifications? You don't disagree with what he's saying. The fact that he wraps it up in literary quotes.
I disagree with how he says it, not what he's saying.
There's more to that quote, by the way. Ralph Waldo Emerson once wrote, "A foolish consistency is the hobgoblin of little minds, adored by little statesmen and philosophers and divines."
Touchdown! He scores.
That's not even a field goal. You only got what was before the comma, and you only got half of it.
I think that we need to get a bucket of death punishment here for the lack of respect for Ralph Waldo Emerson and Jonathan Swift.
It's not a lack of respect for them.
It's not great sportsman.
It feels more like a lack of respect for you than for them.
I thought that's where he was going. I thought it was the bucket of death.
No, but he quotes great authors with great wisdom about the major league locker room, and what do you do? Or about Tom Brady making his own rules. What do you think about the ramifications, the workplace ramifications, the locker room ramifications?
Horse hockey. David Phillips Samson. Here's the problem. I understand what you're saying, John, because you're in a position where you were able to, on a one-off basis, to your talent, decide who is going to get what, when, and where. And you did not care if someone on the 6 o'clock Sports Center did not like someone on the 11 o'clock Sports Center, or there was competition when it came to who had the most security in their contracts, et cetera. But you got to run a clubhouse. Tampa Bay Buccaneers are a team. And when you have a team where the best player says, "I'm not going to be here Wednesdays, see you later, love Giselle," then you've got other veterans who say, "Well, my wife wants me home too, and I'd like to pick up my kids from school." And it creates fissures. Fissures in the clubhouse can overcome talent and lead to losing. And that's why I don't believe in it from an operating standpoint. Of course, from a practical standpoint, there are certain things that you can allow, certain gives to superstars. But a day off in the middle of a football work week, it's completely absurd to me.
I will confess to being puzzled like David, And my only point was you have to make these decisions on their merits, not on whether they are precedent setting or not. And I don't know that I see the merit in granting the request not to go to work on Wednesday. I guess Tom is quiet quitting for at least one day a week.
Dan, who's the second best player on the Buccaneers, would you say? Fournette, should we say?
Let's say Mike Evans.
Well, he's missing a game. We can say Mike Evans gets Wednesday off.
Or Godwin, or I'm going to go to offensive skill guys.
Take one of them. They go to the coach, Bowles, and say, hey, I got a thought here. I'd like Wednesdays off. Would that be okay? What's the answer to that question?
Well, you guys, let's do it this way, though. You guys make it Brady, and now you have to make a decision. And make it Brady with personal problems, and you care about Brady, and you need Brady, and you want Brady to be happy. Why are you shaking your finger no at me?
If we gave players time off for every time they had a fight with their wife,
not players,
I would have been playing second base.
Not players, this player. Player.
He's a player. He's a player.
He's a
with
player.
marital problems.
He's a player.
Cry me a river.
He's a player.
Has marital problems.
He's a player who has a $375 million guarantee that pays him more than football awaiting if you tell him that he can't have what he wants. It's not like he's leverage-less, David.
That's you asking me a question if Tom Brady came to me, and the answer is if he didn't come to me before he unretired, then it's a hard no. If this was always part of the deal, then the clubhouse knows about that deal before day one.
John,
and then I'm okay with that.
John, make it you. He comes to you this day and says, I need Wednesdays off.
I would rather not say yes to that because I think, like David, it will create some discord. On the other hand, if pressed and it's the only way to have him appear on Sunday, and without him, I have no chance to make the playoffs, and I think that probably is the case here. I have a hard time believing that ultimately I wouldn't say we're doing it and explain to the team that this is a special human being who's 45 years old and still playing at this level. Without him, we don't have a shot. We're happy unretired. And whether it was part of the deal or not, I would say it was part of the deal.
Okay, John, question. In your entire career, have you ever had a Tom Brady work for you?
Well, in the company as big as ESPN, it was hard for any one individual to be as important. Probably the closest to an analogous thing was Bill Simmons. When I ran ESPN.com, Bill Simmons was our Tom Brady. And he helped us get over the hump of being third to getting first. And I used to have people complain to me, gee, Bill seems to get to say things that other people don't get to say. And he seems to get away with stuff. I would plead guilty to, yep, the more important you are, the more likely it is possible that you will get some special consideration.
But what if he did that on the way up before he was Tom Brady? Was he doing the things he was doing on the way up that he was doing once he was up?
Mr. Simmons was always quite consistent in needing some special consideration, and was also quite consistent in delivering much higher than average results for us. So yeah, he got some level of special consideration on the way up, and then of course at some point he tested how far he could go, and we made a decision that it was time to part company. Worked for him very well, and whether it worked as well for us, I don't know. But I don't know if that answers your question, David. It's a hard situation. I don't think it's good for the team. Some players, whether they admit it or not, will not like the special consideration, and I just don't understand it. I mean, really, if I don't know what the problems are, I don't know what it's addressing. It's not my business. I don't want to speculate on his relationship with his family, but I don't understand how getting a Wednesday off makes much of a difference.
Do you know how short the show would be if we only spoke about things that were our business?
And probably how dull it would be. Yes.
I'm not
I
sure
simply
that's
wasn't
the
going to
criteria.
speculate. I don't know because they've offered no explanation as to why he's getting Wednesday off.
To pick up the kids at school, a compromise with Giselle. Who cares what the reason is? That's my point. Marital discord that's a Tuesday in professional sports or in any business.
Or in this case, a Wednesday.
Exactly.